For me, that movie was Hoodwinked. Released in 2005, being directed by Corey Edwards, Hoodwinked is a play on the classic Little Red Riding Hood story. But wait, there's more. It's in the format of a whodunit detective mystery movie, kind of like Little Red Riding Hood meets Scooby-Doo, or that funny space game.
Stop posting about Among Us!
Now, the animation quality does stick out over everything when you first look at Hoodwinked.
You probably haven't heard of the PS5 back pork, but maybe you should keep this info in the trenches of your brain folds.
It has that weird early computer animation Toy Story 1 look, like someone's turned the movies... Toy Story 1 look, like someone's turned the movie's graphic settings down to low. But there is a reason for this. Studio Blue Yonder Films completely independently funded the movie themselves, meaning the movie's budget was only around $8 million, which for an animated movie at the time really was not a lot of money. And to save costs, the movie was animated in the Philippines, with Blue Yonder Studios building a team of animators that had no real animation experience, which explains why it looked like a PS1 game. But let's be real, kids will watch anything you put in front of them. I mean, 5 seconds on the YouTube Kids app will tell you that. You have friggin' dinosaur feet! Are you here, Jesse?
How's it going?
What the hell are you? But despite the low budget and scuffed animation, the movie's plot is great, and weirdly... What the hell are you? But despite the low budget and scuffed animation, the movie's plot is great, and weirdly... What the hell are you? But despite the low budget and scuffed animation, the movie's plot is great, and weirdly... What the hell are you? But despite the low budget and scuffed animation, the movie's plot is great, and weirdly...
Todd, you're ruining our fun. How am I supposed to look in the mirror with you being such a nice guy all the time? How am I supposed to concentrate on drinking this can of cola with you being so nice all the time? Sorry, guys, what can I say? I love life and I love this neighborhood. I just love you guys. You're so cool and I need a moment. Go back from where you came. Creep. How do you contain yourself when you want to keep lifting and moving forward?
Ahora entiendo cómo mi hermano se enganchó tanto a esta aplicación.
Paso das tú. Purchase them in the process. However, this wouldn't be the last time they handled a situation the same way. In some weird cases, they didn't really remove the problematic feature at all. One of the best examples of this was the resurrection gadget. If you had this gadget equipped, after you die, you were automatically respawned, and the player that initially killed you wasn't credited for the kill. This sounds a little annoying, but not the end of the world. Because in modes like Team Deathmatch, you're talking about maybe 2 or 3 kills not being credited, out of the 20 to 30 kills. But it was a pretty game-changing issue in modes like Duels, where the entire point was to get the most kills. And instead of getting 20 to 30 kills, most people only got 3 to 5. On top of that, in 2017, it was significantly harder to get gems than it is today, and the Resurrection Gadget cost around 265 gems, which was a pretty large sum at the time. Eventually, it got removed roughly a year later, in 2018. The thing is, it didn't really get rid of the mechanic, because less than a year later, they released the Denial Gadget, which did the exact same thing, with the biggest difference being it wasn't purchasable anymore, and was only obtainable through the clan system. While it doesn't revive you the exact same way, the concept is more or less the same, and still lets players avoid giving the kill, which was the entire problem from the start. At this point, if you thought this was exclusively a weapon-specific problem, it was definitely not only limited to weapons, because the pattern you noticed when it came to how developers handled weapons becomes apparent in every other removed feature. While there were some overpowered weapons that got removed, like we discussed, there were also entire systems that faced the same fate, but for a completely different reason. One of the lesser-known ones was potions, which were part of the game back in its earlier years, around 2014 to 2016. Potions were consumables that gave you a specific effect for a short duration, typically around 2 to 3 minutes. Just to name the most popular, there was the Speed Potion, Potion of Regeneration, and the Anti-Gravity Potion. And I also forgot to mention there was the Sandbox exclusive potion, called the Big Head Potion, which just made your head really big. If you take a closer look at the potions side by side, it's pretty apparent that they're the same ones as the Minecraft ones, or at the very least, heavily inspired by them. Now that was never officially confirmed as the reason for their removal, but it probably played a part in why they didn't want to keep them in the game. When the original potion system was removed, it was replaced by the gadget system we have today, which is honestly a much better system in my opinion, because you're not having to spend coins every match just to get some basic effects. Now you can just buy one gadget and slowly upgrade it as you level up. And again, instead of refining and improving the system, they just replaced it. Another early version system that was removed entirely was the helmets. Helmets were added in 2016 with the 8.1.0 update, and were basically just an extension of the armor system. Similar to the armor, you could upgrade the helmets through different tiers, with the weakest level, which was the wooden helmet, then the iron, gold, crystal, ruby, and the strongest tier being the adamant helmet. But instead of protecting you against body shot damage, you were protected against headshot damage. It was a pretty simple system, but I honestly prefer it over the complex gear and armor system we have today. And later on, they replaced helmets with headgear, which works completely differently since instead of giving you added protection, each headgear piece has its own unique abilities. And even though some of the old helmets still
따라